Hey, this is Kingfish, the solo dev from The Waking of Haven. Some great news. I launched the closed beta last weekend, and so far the feedback has been incredible. There were some really insightful suggestions, and embarrassingly, some bugs have been found and fixed. Hearing players' feedback and perspective has really helped a lot and given me some really cool ideas on where to go from here. If you're one of those players, I just want to stop and say thank you so much. Hearing your ideas and your feedback has been incredibly energizing, and I am pumped out of my mind on where I want to go next with all of this. So that brings us to the dreaded topic of a roadmap. So far, I've been mainly focusing on what I consider the core components of the game, which is waking up in Haven, defending your base, and exploring the inner forest to collect resources which you can spend on base upgrades. This is all pretty straightforward and required a lot of development on boring fundamentals like programming exactly what happens when you hit the back button in a specific menu, or programming the countdown timer to appear when an ability is on cooldown and stuff like that. All of this is super important, but it lacks a certain kind of inspiring aspect of what makes a game interesting, and so far I haven't been able to focus on more interesting things like, 1, the narrative structure of the game beyond the tutorial and introduction. 2, the different tools and toys that I get to give the player to assemble various power fantasies or builds, which is at the core what should make this game fun in the first place. And then 3, the long-term progression towards the liberation of the good forces of the forest and the defeat of the evil forces which oppose them. In other words, the end game content, or how you win. So with all this said, I think I'm now ready to start switching into content mode, and I am so excited to talk with you about it. And that means, of course, a roadmap. So now I deal with roadmaps professionally, and they have a certain kind of power to suck out every last bit of life out of you. So I decided to have fun with this, and I was thinking, why not make a roadmap look kind of like an actual map? So I made this, and there's a lot going on here, but right out of the gates, I want to clarify that the entire world, the lore, and the gameplay is secretly, or maybe it's obvious, I guess, influenced by a hidden structure. In a nutshell, the structure is a color wheel. In lore, the world as we know it is founded by a group of sowers, or minor deities, who represent different primary and secondary colors. Those colors come with a whole slew of associations in the world. So for example, Sarthi is the sower of the seas, kind of like Poseidon, and she stands opposed to Dun, the sower of the mountains, gemstones, and flame. Now they're actually friends, but they are on opposite ends of a certain kind of spectrum. I'll do a more formal lore dump later, but in the meantime, it's important to note that the elemental damage types are actually aligned to the sower colors as well. Yellow is stun, purple weak, green poison, etc. Basically, everything in this game is associated with a particular color and, for lack of a better term, personality of a patron sower. Consequently, the main long-term thrust of the roadmap will be to add game content to flesh out each color and direction. To illustrate this, I want to zoom in on one area in particular, which can kind of help show off the kinds of content to expect in the future. So let's talk about Fair, F-E-R. Fair is the sower associated with the color yellow, and his domain is truth, honor, fate, and certain kinds of wisdom. Every sower-aligned bundle of content will include a few core components. First, a new hero playable character. This will come along with a new set of abilities. So spoiler alert, I have finished the art and I'm about to begin the abilities for a character currently named the Valkyrie, who will be the hero or the playable character associated with Fair. Second, a new set of maps themed to a specific biome. So for the Fair themed biome, he has a particular fondness for yellow oaken woods with tall runestones. Third, a new roster of troops that you can recruit. Now in this case, there is a Viking or Norse themed set of troops to recruit. These are currently finished and actually available in the game currently in a very limited sense. You can hire them as mercenaries. Fourth, a new roster of enemies who represent a precursor race who are mysteriously also aligned with the themes of the sowers. I'm not going to spoil that connection for you here, but there is a connection. Fifth, a new interactable priest who will grant you access to tidbits of lore as well as an upgrade tree that will help you push further into the forest. And sixth, a final boss who will need to be defeated if you want to liberate the sowers from their imprisonment. A fact which you will probably discover when talking to the priests of each given sower. Now multiply this by 6 times and you can see that I've got my work cut out for me. To tackle these in a sensible way, I want to deliver each of them one at a time, or more likely 2 at a time. In fact, I think I have the name for my first major content-themed update, Speakers for the Dead, which will combine both the yellow and purple-themed sowers. Anyway, this is going to be a lot, so wish me luck. And hold on, I am getting ahead of myself. There's still a few things that I'd like to tackle which are somewhat sower aligned, but can also be delivered separately or not in a big bundle. This includes a pet system, which can give you small passive bonuses, a garden system, which will allow you to collect and plant various herbs and flowers that you find in the forest, a soul well, which will affect the soul coin supply, which you use to resurrect fallen allies, a deployable or an equipment system, a improved trap system for Haven defenses, and an improved shop system. These should be smaller and more manageable updates, which I want to sneak in here and there as I have time, instead of bundling them together with a larger content update. I also want to talk about the distant future and the distant past. Originally, The Waking of Haven started as a fantasy ecosystem simulator, kind of like if Star Wars: The Gungan Frontier, which I guarantee you nobody has ever heard about, had a baby with a Silmarillion. The main idea was you could play as one of the sowers responsible for shaping a new world and its inhabitants, and maybe even live among them. But then there would be something like dark sowers who would aim to corrupt the world by introducing different kinds of toxic, evil blight which you would need to clear away so that the natural order of things could achieve balance. I want to bring that concept back into The Waking of Haven in ways that I still need to design out, but suffice it to say that we can expect some kind of dynamic endgame content that will allow you to push back the powers of entropy and sadism, which oppose the values of the sowers and corrupt even the ground, the plants, and the animals and the people. So more on that much later. Okay, so I've obviously got my work cut out for me, but I've made it this far, and I'm only now getting into the ability to tell the story that's been locked inside my head. Up next, content-wise, is a devlog dedicated to the story and the lore, so stay tuned for that. If you want to join us for this journey, please feel free to head over to our Discord. There's a link in the description where you can find the submission form for the closed beta. And once again, to all my participants who've already contributed your time and your ideas, thank you so much. I really can't tell you how much I appreciate you. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does matter, and we are trying to, get the awareness of more people to play the game and provide their feedback. I hope you have an amazing day and stay safe out there.